Good morning, everyone. I'm representing the work of the project group today, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you the journey that we've been on, which Simon has already started to talk about. So, the first thing I'd say is I know that you've got a hard copy on your desk which gives an overview of the strategy, but we really want to make sure that you will be engaging with the detail of the strategy, which can be found on this link. See that link? You can get through, many of you know already, get through to the SEN pages on this link, and there you will find the detail of the strategy, and you will also find our first implementation plan. More about that in a moment. I want to just join up to the presenters that you've already heard. Obviously, we needed to develop a strategy in relation to the changes, the requirements of the legislation. You have heard from Brian today about all the requirements that we're going to have to put in place. You've also heard from Tim today about the context in Essex and the fact that developing a new strategy is very much part of our lifelong learning strategy. So developing a strategy for SEN is something that is really essential that we deliver on. What we mustn't lose sight of, though, about developing the strategy is that there really is an underpinning driver, and that's that we must address what we see as poor outcomes for quite a sizable part of our population here in Essex. That's what's crucial. It's about improving outcomes. It's about narrowing the gap for those pupils. Simon has talked very much about the support we had from FACE in developing our strategy. We had tremendous support from the voluntary sector. We had support from Families in Focus, from Interact, from parent support groups for children with autism, from the Special Needs Advisory Group for parents. We really, really did actually go on a thorough journey. Simon described our starting point, and at the start of this journey, I really thought it was going to be quite short. We'd do a consultation, and we'd come up with a draft, and we'd move on quite quickly. Actually, the consultation took over 15 months. We started with an online one where we had 1,000 responses, but for those 1,000 responses, there were 8,000 pieces of information. We then listened to the proposals put forward by our advisory group, and we extended our consultation to a series of targeted engagement sessions where we worked with primary head teachers, secondary head teachers, SENCOs, parents, governors. We had mixed groups, we worked with parents, we had a discussion workbook, and we worked with children and young people. And during this time, we started involving subject matter experts so that we could begin to draw together what it was we need to put within our strategy. And at all times, we actually looked at what we were seeing as best practice coming out of the work from the SEND Pathfinders, and we did also work with two national leaders in the field, one of whom we heard today, Brian Lamb, and also Jean Gross. When we came up with a draft, we then tested the ideas for the draft rather, at 4 sessions around the county, and I think we covered about 600 people in those sessions. We then produced a draft, and we then undertook an extensive communication session where we sent the draft out to all the key stakeholders and invited comments. This whole process, that when I started I thought in my work plan this will take me about 2 months, took 15 months. And it was a very challenging but also an incredibly enjoyable and rewarding process. You can imagine from what I've just described, 15 months, and just from an online consultation, about 8,000 pieces of information and feedback, we ended up with an awful lot to do. It looked really complex. So one of the things that we did was we actually divided all of the work that we felt we need to do in Essex into a series of purposes for ourselves. And we put them into 10 cross-cutting themes, which you can see on the screen. What I would say is that although there's no hierarchy in those cross-cutting themes, the recurrent thing for us all, and you've heard Tim say it today, and Brian has said it, and so has Simon, the recurrent thing is we absolutely need to increase confidence in the system in order that we can ensure that things do get better. That these young people will actually have better outcomes, that we'll see improvement in the system. We came up with a vision statement, and this vision statement focuses on the importance that young people with SEND can have a full range of support, that they will have opportunities available, and that they will be able to maximise their life chances, their goals and their aspirations. Feeding into that rather grand statement was an awful lot of comment from parents, practitioners, young people themselves. Parents reporting it's so important that their children do well at school, that they're made to feel happy, that they don't feel a burden, that they can all expect resources and help, and that they shouldn't have to fight for the things that they need. That parents want to be very involved and co-produce as well their children's education experiences. As Simon said, partnership is here to stay. This point is really important. Parents reported that they wanted to get the best out of the system, but actually, when they were doing that, maybe at school level, maybe with the local authority, that it was seen, or they were made to feel it was a problem. It's very important that those are the things that we address. So, the priorities. There are 4 priorities. The first priority, to ensure that every child with SEND can go to a good or outstanding school or setting. The second, and in this new language that we are commissioning and delivering a range of high quality provision for all children and young people with SEND. The third, that we ensure a very smooth progression to adulthood for all young people with SEND. And the fourth, that we improve the assessment and identification of SEND across agencies. Now, these 4 priorities they have to remain relevant. We've got, as we've described, a 5-year journey. They must remain relevant. They have to be wide enough to encompass all of the activity and all of the actions that will be required in order to ensure that those priorities are translated into outcomes for this group. I'm now going to sort of delve into the priorities a bit, and I'm going to do this in a certain way. I'm going to tell you why the priority, I'm going to focus on the highlights of why the priority are important, and then I'm just going to give you a little bit of feedback about what was said about these priorities. And then I'm going to tell you what success will look like at the end of 5 years and during the 5-year period if we deliver to this. And remember, you can check the detail online. So, why is priority 1 so important? It's absolutely vital that children, all children, go to schools that are good or outstanding. That's what parents want. That's what the children deserve. That's very, very important in relation to children with SEND. Data shows us that in good schools, in schools where there's outstanding practice, children with SEND actually do achieve well. It is this type of school that can intervene early, can assess effectively, and can help close the gap for these children. And Essex families see this as really important. They want to be involved. And we're very aware that to achieve this priority, it's very important that there is training and support around SEND issues. That will make a positive difference. Our consultation was very clear. Parents, practitioners, all support that children should be included in the community of their school. Everybody reports how important it is that services can be accessed, that support is available where it's needed. One of the key factors going forward with the strategy is that Essex, unlike many other local authorities, with the support of the Schools Forum, are actually maintaining and in some cases increasing access to specialist services like EP services, specialist teacher services. Students tell us that where they've been supported, they feel more confident and they make progress. And these points, these show us what success will look like. Hopefully, we will get to a position where every school is rated as good or outstanding. Hopefully, a greater number of schools will demonstrate rapid and sustained improvement for children. We hope that achievement and progress will occur. We hope that we will get to a situation where we can exceed the national average and that we are really attending to our gap locally. And the last two are really vital. We really will know we've been successful if we improve attendance for children and young people for SEND, and if we reduce the number of permanent and fixed-term exclusions. That is so very important for this group. So our second priority. This priority actually had more response than any other single priority or any other single question we raised in the focus groups. We had thousands and thousands of comments on this. It's important because we know we absolutely need to increase access to specialist provision. And Tim has already talked about a key factor of our strategy is going to be to have 4 new special schools. We also need to look at how we deliver some of our SEN provision, and we need to look at better ways of doing that, more flexible, more accessible. We know it's important that we're going to intervene with support as early as possible, and all of the presentations today have talked about how important it's going to be to work collaboratively, in partnership. And we are aware that we have a number of challenges in relation to fulfilling this priority because of the financial constraints and time of austerity. But we must, particularly in this area, be opportunistic and remain flexible. We've got to stop talking about we need more specialist provision, and we have got to work on it. Consultation, as I've said, huge amount of consultation. You can see from these comments, everyone feels more support, better access to support is important. Tim has already highlighted that for children with autism and for children with behaviour and emotional difficulties, that these are key areas that we know that we need to develop on. What will success look like? Well, first of all, we'll have a local offer. We'll have a local offer, we'll have an increased range of special education provision, we will have a reduction in children going out county, and the schools and settings will be able to access appropriate resources and support when necessary. Priority 3, ensuring a smooth progression to adulthood for all young people with SEND. This is a very stressful time for young people and their families. These bullet points indicate how important this issue is. There's new legislation, new protections. We have to ensure that we can have a smooth progression in place. We have to ensure that the best possible outcomes are going to be achieved for these young people, and we have to ensure that they're going to be able to go forward into adult life and enjoy and achieve. And these are some of the things that we were told. The students particularly were very, very worried about this period of their life. And we must ensure that this is an incredibly important focus for commissioning services. If we're successful then, we'll have a number of young people who move forward into adult life who are happy, achieving and engaged. I'm not going to go through all of these because I'm being given some sort of nods from the project group in terms of time, but I'm sure that you'll be able to engage with these points. Priority 4. This was a very challenging priority for us to work on parents with, very important to them. As Tim said, parents need to feel they're at the centre and they're supported during this process. We need to be confident that we're putting the best assessment processes in place in Essex. We need to review our statutory assessment services. We need to move on to education, health and care plans, Brian was explaining, and we need to ensure that we are working together, joint assessment and joint planning. This is why it's important. The consultation we had on this, we had an awful lot of people talking about conflict in the system. We have to ensure that we don't have conflict in the system, that we are able to move forward and be clear, make people feel supported. People said how important going through the statutory assessment process, the role of the school SENCO was. It's important that we actually make sure that we're working very closely with schools during the statutory process. So what will success look like? Well, we'll have a local offer in place. Parents will know where to go for advice and guidance. We'll have reduced our complaints. We will be able to demonstrate that the interventions we're making are making a difference. We will have efficient mechanisms and referrals in place. We've got to implement and monitor this. I said to you that we have an overview for our strategy. The detail of the strategy is going to be contained in 5 annual plans. The first one is now on the internet link. We'll have implementation plans. These will be monitored, there'll be quarterly reviews, they will be refreshed annually. All the plans include a range of delivery objectives and success measures. I want you to remember we're on a 5-year journey, and that will only be successful if we're effective with our partnership working, and the joint planning is crucial. Track our progress with us. That's our invitation to you. We started with this consultation. This is a stepping off point, as Simon said, it's just a launch. We've got 5 years of planning, doing and reviewing. We're going to have an ongoing dialogue with you. We've already got planned in 2014 4 major pushes. Working on the code of practice for schools, working with governors as SEN is a hot topic, working with schools on developing the school local offer, providing confidence to enable schools to assess their readiness in relation to SEND, and we will be continuing our ongoing inset programme. If you remember nothing of my presentation today, I want you to remember this is a stepping off point. This is the start of the next 5 years of working on the SEND, of making that the focus of things that we are doing in school, making sure that we use those 4 priorities. Remember those 4 priorities. Those are the important things. I'm now going to hand over to Councillor Gooding.